Okay, we are going to be reading the last section of this unit, and it's storms. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing a lot of explaining because I think that this is one of the things that you probably do have a lot of background information on. It is a lot of pages, it's pages 80 to 89 in your textbook. And so we're going to get started. All right, so we are here on page 80. As the storm rages, lightning flashes and thunder rumbles. After the sky clears, dripping trees and numerous puddles are the only evidence of the passing storm, right? Not always. Scientists search for other evidence, fossil lightning. When lightning strikes sand or sandy soil, the sand grains are fused together to form a fulgurite. The shape of the fulgurite reflects the path of the lightning bolt that formed it, as shown in figure 8. These structures clearly show the tremendous power of storms. A storm is a violent disturbance in the atmosphere. Storms involve sudden changes in air pressure, which in turn cause rapid air movements. Conditions that bring one kind of storm often cause other kinds of storm in the same area. For example, the conditions that can cause a thunderstorm can also cause tornadoes. There are several types of severe storms. We are going to focus on four major storms here. We're going to talk about tornadoes, hurricanes, winter storms, and thunderstorms. This is the fulgurite. You can see all the little things coming off of it as the path of the lightning might go. And basically it's so hot, it fuses the sand together. Here we're starting with our thunderstorms. Thunderstorms. Do you find thunderstorms frightening, exciting? As you watch the brilliant flashes of lightning and listen to long rolls of thunder, you may wonder what caused them. How thunderstorms form. A thunderstorm is a small storm often accompanied by heavy precipitation and frequent lightning and thunder. Thunderstorms form in large cumulonimbus clouds, also known as thunderheads. And that is that really tall, dark cloud that we've talked about, where you have this sort of really high cumulonimbus cloud. Most cumulonimbus clouds form on hot, humid afternoons. They also form when warm air is forced upward along a cold front. In both cases, the warm, humid air rises rapidly. The air cools, forming dense thunderheads. Heavy rain falls, sometimes along with hail. Within the thunderhead are strong upward and downward winds, updrafts and downdrafts, which we talked about when we talked about making hail, as shown in figure 9. Many thunderstorms form in spring and summer in the southern states or the western plains. Lightning and thunder. During a thunderstorm, areas of positive and negative electrical charges build up in the storm clouds. Lightning is a sudden spark or electrical discharge as these charges jump between parts of a cloud, between nearby clouds, or between a cloud and the ground. That's the lightning we're usually used to. Lightning is similar to the shocks you sometimes feel when you touch a metal object on a very dry day, but on a much larger scale. So if you've ever been walking along the carpet and sort of dragging your feet, maybe wearing socks, and then you go to touch a metal doorknob and you feel a little shock, that's like a small version of what actual lightning is like. It's a buildup of these electrons and then a transfer of them in that spark. What causes thunder? A lightning bolt can heat the air near it to nearly as much as 30,000 degrees Celsius, much hotter than the sun's surface. The rapidly heated air expands suddenly and explosively. The thunder is the sound of that explosion. It's the sound of the air expanding so quickly. Because the light travels faster than sound, though, you see lightning before thunder. And you may have heard that trick where if you see lightning and you count 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, boom, you think that the lightning is roughly 3 miles away. Thunderstorm damage. Thunderstorms can cause severe damage. The heavy rains associated with thunderstorms can flood low-lying areas. Lightning can also cause damage. When lightning strikes the ground, the hot, expanding air can shatter tree trunks or start forest fires. When lightning strikes people or animals, it acts like a powerful electric shock. Lightning can cause unconsciousness, serious burns, or even heart failure. Floods. A major danger during severe thunderstorm is flooding. Floods occur when so much water pours into a stream or river that its banks overflow, covering the surrounding land. In urban areas, floods can occur when the ground is already saturated by heavy rains. The water can't soak into the waterlogged ground or the many areas covered with buildings, roads, and parking lots. A flash flood is a sudden, violent flood that occurs shortly after a storm. Thunderstorm safety. The safest place to be during a thunderstorm is indoors. If you're inside a home, avoid touching telephones. Well, that used to be the telephones that were plugged into the wall, electrical appliances, or plumbing fixtures, all of which can conduct electricity. That's not as much the case anymore. A lot of our pipes have been replaced with PVC piping, but there are a lot of places that still have metal pipes. It's usually safe to stay in a car with a hard top on during a thunderstorm. The electricity will move along the metal skin of the car and jump to the ground. However, don't touch any metal inside of the car. During thunderstorms, avoid places where lightning may strike. Also, avoid objects that can conduct electricity, such as metal objects and bodies of water. How can you remain safe if you're caught outside during a thunderstorm? It's dangerous to seek shelter under a tree because lightning may strike the tree and you. Lightning looks for the highest point, so the tree would be it. Instead, find a low area away from trees, fences, and poles. Crouch with your head down. If you're swimming or in a boat, get to the shore and find shelter right away because water can conduct electricity. Moving on to tornadoes. Tornadoes. A tornado is one of the most frightening and destructive types of storms. A tornado is a rapidly whirling, funnel-shaped cloud that reaches down from a storm cloud to touch Earth's surface. If a tornado occurs over a lake or ocean, the storm is known as a waterspout. Tornadoes are usually brief but can be deadly. They may touch the ground for 15 minutes or less and be only a few hundred meters across. But wind speeds in the most intense tornadoes can approach 500 kilometers an hour. And you can see here and in your packet, you'll have a diagram that will talk about how this warm, moist air sort of feeds the cycle there. It begins to rotate as it gets up into the clouds, and then you can get this whirling cloud that can be quite fast and quite dangerous. How tornadoes form. Tornadoes can form in any situation that produces severe weather. Tornadoes most commonly develop in thick cumulonimbus clouds, the same clouds that bring thunderstorms. Tornadoes are most likely to occur when thunderstorms are likely in spring and early summer, often late in the afternoon when the ground is warm. The Great Plains often have the kind of weather pattern that is likely to create tornadoes. A warm, humid air mass moves north from the Gulf of Mexico into the lower Great Plains, and a cold, dry air mass moves south from Canada. When the air masses meet, the cold air will move under the warm air, forcing that to rise, and you can get a squall line of thunderstorms is likely to form, where you get a sort of a line of thunderstorms along that front where those two meet but don't mix. A squall line of thunderstorms is likely to form with storms traveling from southwest to northeast. A single squall line can produce 10 or more tornadoes. And so that area there where you've got that cold air mass coming, meeting that warm, humid air mass, it's called Tornado Alley because that's where you get a lot of those tornadoes and thunderstorms forming. Tornado Alley. Tornadoes occur more often in the United States than in any other country. In the United States, there's about 800 tornadoes occur in the United States every year. Weather patterns on the Great Plains result in Tornado Alley, as shown in Figure 12. However, tornadoes can and do occur in nearly every part of the United States, and we are over here, and we know that we definitely get those. Tornado damage. Tornado damage comes from both strong winds and flying debris, or flying stuff that's been tossed around by the tornado. The low pressure inside the tornado sucks dust and other objects into the funnel. Tornadoes can move large objects, entire sheds, trailers, cars, and they can scatter that debris many miles away. One tornado tore off a motel sign in Broken Bow, Oklahoma, and dropped it about 30 miles away in Arkansas. One of the reasons that tornadoes are so frightening is that they are unpredictable. We still don't have enough evidence or enough information and have not been able to get enough information to be able to predict and track how a tornado will move. A tornado can level houses on one street but leave neighboring houses standing. Tornadoes are ranked on the Fujita scale by the amount of damage they cause. The Fujita scale was named for the scientist who devised it, Dr. T. Theodore Fujita. The scale only goes from light damage, an F0, to extreme damage, an F5. Luckily, only about 1% of tornadoes are ranked as an F4 or F5. So if it's a 0, the next one is be 10 times stronger as an F1, and then 10 times stronger than that as an F2, which is 100 times. So it's pretty intense. Tornado safety. What should you do if a tornado is predicted in your area? A tornado watch is an announcement that tornadoes are possible. The conditions are right. A tornado watch is an announcement that tornadoes are possible in your area. Watch for approaching thunderstorms. A tornado warning, however, is an announcement that a tornado has been seen in the sky or on the weather radar. If you hear a tornado warning, move to a safe area as soon as you can. Do not wait until you actually see the tornado. And you know that we have tornado, the sirens go off the first Tuesday of every month at 10 a.m. To let people, to test the system and remind people what they sound like. The safest place to be during a tornado is in a storm shelter or the basement of a well-built building. If the building you are in does not have a basement, move to the middle of the ground floor. Stay away from windows and doors to avoid flying debris. Lie on the floor under a sturdy piece of furniture, such as a large table. If you are outdoors, you want to lie flat in a ditch. You want to get as low as possible. When Edie, my daughter, was first born, we lived in a condo, and we had windows in the bedrooms, in the kitchen, and the living room. So our indoor space to go was the 2 bathrooms. And so we would just like put a blanket in the tub and put her in the tub with some toys and kind of wait that out because we didn't have a basement and we wanted to be away from the windows. Okay. Hurricanes, here we go. And you can see again, we have another diagram. This will be like on your packet where you're talking about how the hurricanes form and what feeds them. Hurricanes. A hurricane is a tropical cyclone that has winds of 119 kilometers per hour or higher. A typical hurricane is about 600 kilometers across. So that is like over 350 miles. Hurricanes form in the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Oceans. In the Western Pacific Ocean, though, hurricanes are called typhoons, but a hurricane and a typhoon are the same. How hurricanes form. A typical hurricane that strikes the United States forms in the Atlantic Ocean north of the equator in August, September, October. So we're thinking sort of Florida, New Orleans, the Carolinas down there. A hurricane begins over warm ocean water as a low pressure area. So if it's low pressure, that warm, moist air is rising, okay? As a low pressure area or what's called a tropical disturbance. If the disturbance grows in size and strength, it becomes a tropical storm, which then may become a hurricane. A hurricane draws its energy from the warm, humid air at the ocean surface. As the air rises and forms cloud, more air is drawn into the system. Inside the storm are bands of very high winds and heavy rains. Winds spiral inward toward the area of the lowest pressure at the center. So the pressure is low at the center, the winds are spiraling in. The lower the air pressure at the center of the storm, the faster the winds blow toward the center. Hurricane winds may be as strong as 320 kilometers an hour. Look at figure 13. Hurricane winds are strongest in the narrow band around the center of the storm. Let me go back up here. So right here, where you have this circling band of air, that's where it's going to be the strongest, okay? Hurricane winds are strongest in the narrow band around the center of the storm. At the center is a ring of clouds called the eye wall that enclose a quiet eye. The wind gets stronger as the eye approaches, but when the eye arrives, the weather changes suddenly. The air grows really calm and the sky may clear. But after the eye passes, the storm resumes, but the wind blows from the opposite direction. So if you're in a hurricane and the wind is coming from this way, as you get to the eye, it'll be weirdly calm and clear, and then the wind will come from the other way because you're on the other side of the spin. How hurricanes move. Hurricanes last longer than other storms, like a lot longer. Like a tornado might be 15 minutes, a thunderstorm could be an hour or so. Hurricanes can last a week or more. During that period, they can travel quite a distance. Hurricanes that form in the Atlantic Ocean are steered by easterly trade winds toward the Caribbean islands and the southeastern United States. So again, Florida, New Orleans, things like that. After a hurricane passes over land, though, it no longer has that warm, moist air to draw the energy from. So the hurricane will gradually lose its strength. It will have all the rainfall, but no more warm, moist air is feeding it. So it will drop all of its rain and continue for several days. Hurricane damage. When a hurricane comes ashore, it brings high waves and severe flooding as well as wind damage. The low pressure and high winds of the hurricane over the ocean raise the level of water up to 6 meters or 18 feet above the normal sea level. The result is what we call a storm surge, or this dome of water that sweeps across the coast where the hurricanes land. Storm surges can cause great damage, washing away beaches, destroying buildings along the coast, and eroding the coastlines. And I think you probably heard on the news, we've definitely seen an increase in the number of hurricanes and the strength. And lots of places are doing what they can to sort of prepare for these kinds of things as we move into the future, because we've had some pretty catastrophic hurricanes. Hurricane safety. Until the 1950s, a fast-moving hurricane could strike with little warning. People now receive information well in advance of an approaching hurricane. Because of technology, we're able to see on a weather radar when they're coming and if they're going to hit and the speed. A hurricane watch, much like a tornado watch, indicates that hurricane conditions are possible in an area within the next 36 hours. While that, and when we have a tornado watch, we want to move to safety, and very much the same thing in a hurricane watch. You should prepare to evacuate or to move away temporarily, like far away, like miles, like get in your car. A hurricane warning means that hurricane conditions are expected within 24 hours. If you hear hurricane warning and are told to evacuate, you need to leave. Sometimes people think that they can weather it out. They've been through them, but they're getting to be more intense, and so it's not safe to stay. The last storm we're going to talk about is winter storms, which we are no stranger to here in Illinois. In the winter in the northern United States, a large amount of precipitation falls as snow. All year round, most precipitation begins in clouds of snow. If the air is colder than 0 degrees all the way to the ground, the precipitation falls as snow. Heavy snowfalls can block roads, trapping people in their homes and making it hard for emergency vehicles to move. Extreme cold can damage crops and cause water pipes to freeze and burst. Lake effect snow. They're going to talk about New York, but we absolutely get lake effect snow closer to the city, not as much here in Wheaton, but in the city you get snow that because the moisture of the lake will feed and freeze and come down on areas in the city. Two of the snowiest cities in the United States are Buffalo and Rochester in upstate New York. On average, nearly 3 meters of snow falls on each of these cities every winter. Why do Buffalo and Rochester get so much snow? Study figure 16. Notice that Buffalo is located east of Lake Erie and Rochester is located south of Lake Ontario. In the fall and winter, the land near those lakes cools much more rapidly than the water in those lakes, and you remember that. Although the water in the lakes is cold, it is still much warmer than the surrounding land and air. When a cold, dry air mass, though, from central Canada moves southeast across one of these Great Lakes where there's warm moisture rising, it will pick up that water vapor and heat from the lake. But as soon as the air mass reaches the other side of the lake, the air rises and cools again, and the water vapor inside those clouds will condense and fall as snow, usually within 40 kilometers of the lake, so pretty close. So that cold air will move along, it'll pick up that moist, warm air from the lake, but when it hits the land again, it cools and you get snowfall. Snowstorm safety. Imagine being caught in a snowstorm when the wind suddenly picks up. High winds can blow falling snow sideways. High winds can blow falling snow sideways or pick up snow from the ground and suspend it in the air. This situation can be extremely dangerous because the blowing snow limits your vision and makes it easy to get lost. Also, strong winds, as we know, cool a person's body rapidly. We talked about increased evaporation from the wind chill. If you are caught in a snowstorm, you should try to find shelter from the wind. Cover any exposed parts of your body and try to stay dry. If you're in a car, though, you should keep the engine running only if the exhaust pipe is clear. If that exhaust pipe gets blocked up, all that dangerous gas that should be coming out of the exhaust pipe will fill the car, and you can actually asphyxiate or suffocate on the gas in the car, and you wouldn't even know it. That is the reading of the section. We'll be doing some more discussing of it as we go through it. I'll be sharing some videos about storms, storm safety, lightning, thunderstorms, hail. So I hope this helps you with your packet, and we will continue to discuss these 4 types of storms. Thanks.